It is such an honor to be joined by today's guest, Leslie Brown. But for you Arizona softball fans watching right now, you probably recognize her as Leslie Wolfe, a pitcher for the Arizona Wildcats from 2003 to 2006, part of that '06 national championship squad. And she is now right up the street from Hillenbrand at Banner UMC as a nurse in the trauma bay and emergency room on the front lines of this coronavirus pandemic. So Leslie, it is an especially crazy time for you. So thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Good to hear that. Well, we will get to your softball career in just a second, but first, can you kind of catch us up to speed? Take us from the end of your college softball journey to where you are today and kind of fill in the blanks to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so my senior year was 2006 and we won the World Series that year, which was so awesome to go out like that. And at the time there was professional softball and it's still around, but there was kind of an option for some of us to go do. So there was a few of us that went and played professional softball for a couple years, and it was just fun because we weren't ready to be done yet. Even though we had just come off of a World Series win, we still wanted to play. So I went and played professional for a couple years and had so much fun with some of my softball sisters and traveled, and then it was time to kind of hang it up and move on and get a big girl job. So I always knew I wanted to be a nurse, and so it was just kind of a no-brainer to go back to school, go to nursing school, and go that route. So so I did a couple years of a professional, and then went to nursing school, and then went right into working as an ER nurse, and then so I've been doing ever since.
So how long have you been working as an ER nurse now?
I was 2011 is when, is it 11 or 12? And then that's when I started. I think it was 2012. 2012, I started working as a nurse, and I worked at Tucson Medical Center in the emergency department as a new grad, just a little baby nurse in the ER. And I loved it. I love the ER. I love just everything about the emergency department. And then I moved over to Banner, and I love it even more. And I think that's just my home. I just love the ER.
So you've been working as a nurse for about a decade now, but the
Yeah.
last 4 months, I'm sure unlike anything you have ever seen. Can you describe what the last 4 months have been like for you?
Yeah, it's just been crazy. It's so strange. You know, they don't prepare you for a pandemic when you're in nursing school. So it's been very interesting, very eye-opening. I feel like this coronavirus is constantly changing. And so just when we get into like a rhythm of how to take care of these patients and what to expect, then something else happens. And now we're dealing with this second wave of the coronavirus, which is actually worse than the first. We're seeing way more patients. We're seeing way sicker patients. I mean, the acuity around there is so high that some of these patients require a one-on-one nursing role. So this nurse is just assigned to that patient because they're so sick. So it's been very interesting to take care of such critical patients in the emergency department and for long periods of time, because the hospitals are so full that we're holding on to these patients in the emergency department for such long periods of time that you really have to work on your critical care skills as a nurse. So it's been very educational and very scary because you don't know what's going to come through those doors. You don't know how old they are, how severe their symptoms are. And for those of us that work in the emergency department, I think we're all scared to get it. And some of us have. And so I think, but that's our job. You know, we still show up to work every day. That's what we do. And do our best to stay safe.
Now, working in the ER and the trauma bay, you're used to really long, really hard days, but especially in these last 4 months, how do you mentally ramp yourself up when you know what you're going to see that day?
Yeah, it's hard. It's been really hard, especially the last couple of weeks, because we've been doing this for so long now that the fatigue is real and the burnout is real and the fear. But I think that we look at it like this is just what we're supposed to be doing. This is my job, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's where I'm supposed to be. And I love my coworkers. I love the doctors that I work with, the other nurses that I work with, the paramedics that I work with, and we are such a strong team, and we are just in it together. And so when you're in it together with such a strong team of friends and colleagues, it makes it doable, and it makes it okay to cry with each other and okay to laugh with each other and go grab dinner after work sometimes just to decompress. And if I didn't have such a solid team, then I would not be able to get up every day and do this.
Now, you just said the word team several times, so obviously
Yes,
a connection there to your softball days.
definitely.
What do you think you learned or developed during your days as an athlete that you've now taken into your medical career?
Yeah, that was the number one thing, is just being part of a team. I love being part of a team, and being part of the softball program. You had a sisterhood, you had a little family, and you all worked together. And sometimes you were a leader and sometimes somebody else was a leader. And you just had this really fun dynamic of different personalities, but you all figured out how to work together because you all had one goal at the end of the day. And we are the same way in the emergency department. Sometimes there's other people that are leaders, and and sometimes you find yourself as a follower, but at the end of the day, everyone is there to work hard. Everyone has one goal in mind, and we make it fun. We all work together. So being part of a team is so important, and it makes you feel so good at the end of the day that you and your team work so hard and you're so exhausted, but you did it together, you survived together, and you're going to come back tomorrow and do it again together.
Now, we mentioned earlier that 2006 national championship, obviously one of the highlights of your softball career, we can assume.
Yes.
What are some of your more fond memories from your time as an Arizona Wildcat?
I think a lot of it was like the silly road trips and the bus rides and the hotel dance parties. And I think a lot of that stuff was so much fun because we were so silly together, and we just had so much fun together, and we loved road trips. I think that was hotel life was so fun. And so I think just spending time off the field together was a lot of fun. And it made our time on the field together even more special because we had such great relationships off the field as well. It was just a really good team. We had really good leadership, and obviously being under Coach Candrea. So it was really special. It was a good time. And those girls, some of them are still, my best friends. And you just develop these special relationships with them. And we have alumni games once a year. And it's so fun to reconnect with all the girls and relive some of those silly stories and pictures. And it's really fun.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Are you still in touch with anyone affiliated with the Arizona softball program? But it sounds like it's still such a huge part of your life.
It is. Yeah. I mean, they really do. We do call each other softball sisters because there's a good core group of us that are still here in Tucson, which is really fun because we see each other all the time. We hang out all the time. We're the aunts to each other's children. And those that live out of town, we are good about keeping in touch and reconnecting when we can. And they're also kind of like the extended aunts to some of our kids. And it's really fun because that's a bond, and that's a relationship that will never be broken. We shared a lot of special times together, and they'll be lifelong sisters for sure.
That is really special. Well, a lot of us were really disappointed when college sports were canceled for the rest of spring due to the coronavirus pandemic. But yeah. I'm sure you've got a unique perspective on that, being a former college athlete yourself. How did you feel when you heard that Arizona softball, baseball, track and field, all those sports were just done?
I know, that was so sad. I went to one softball game this spring before the season was canceled, and I'm so glad I went. But I just felt so bad, especially for the seniors. And I remember how special my senior year was. And so I felt horrible that their senior year was canceled. And luckily they're going to get it back. This time of year, we should be at the Baseball College World Series. And beginning of June was the Softball College World Series. So yeah, I really feel for them. And I hope that it makes them appreciate their time as a college athlete even more, because especially the seniors, they almost just lost that very last year. So maybe this next year when they come back, they'll really have a good appreciation for what they have being a college athlete. And I really hope that, I just hope that these sports can go back to normal, because it's such a big time in their lives, and it's something that you can't get back. And so hopefully it goes back on track for them.
Well, zooming out from softball to big picture, what has been the toughest part of the last 4 months for you, be it in your work as a nurse or just generally?
I'd say the mental and physical fatigue of the job, because these are such long days, and the amount of patients that we're seeing and how sick they are and how difficult they are to manage. This is nothing that we've ever seen before. So taking care of a coronavirus patient is very new to all of us. And we're still trying to figure out how to treat them, how to cure them, and things we can do for them. And it's been really hard because we don't allow visitors in the hospital.
Right.
And so some of these patients that we have are deathly ill, and sometimes they do die, and they're alone because they're not allowed visitors. So that's been really hard. We use our own cell phones, our own iPhones, to help families FaceTime with each other. And so I think the mental fatigue and the mental toll that it's taking has been something new for me and very challenging. And while the physical toll is rough, I think more the mental is probably the hardest part. But that's where we rely on each other, and we stick together, and we get through it together. And I just know that when I show up every day, that I have a really good team around me and really good friends around me, and that we're going to get through it together.
Now, for those of us at home, we're just seeing bits and pieces of what you're seeing day in and day out, month in and month out. What is something that you want those of us at home to know about the work that you nurses and doctors and EMTs are doing that we can't see?
I think knowing that it's a struggle and that some of us are having a hard time, but we still show up. We still want to be there for these patients, and we still want to be there for the community. And it's just hard. And I think that we're scared. There's a lot of us that are terrified that we're going to get infected, or that we're going to infect one of our family members or one of our children. And so we are doing our best to keep ourselves germ-free, keep our homes germ-free, and it's just not easy. And it'd be easy to just, not come into work or find a different job, but that's not what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to be there and taking care of these people. And so I think it's just nice once in a while. Sometimes you'll just hear a thank you from somebody, or, you get a card in the mail, just a simple thank you, or a Facebook thank you. And it goes a long way, because you do feel kind of like, you're in the trenches, and it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But stuff like that makes a difference. And I actually had a couple of the U of A softball players, they sent me emails, just personal emails, just thanking me for the work I was doing. And that was huge. That was such a lift to my spirits. And it was right in the thick of the coronavirus. And it just couldn't have come at a better time.
That is so beautiful. I'm so glad you're getting the thanks that you are due. And I think I speak for everyone when I say thank you so much for the work that you are doing. You truly are a hero. We throw around the word hero a lot, but you really are a hero doing the work that you are doing. So thank you so much. Thank you for making time, especially during obviously a wild time. I so appreciate it, Leslie.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my time as a Wildcat. I'm so proud to be a nurse and to be a part of this Tucson community still. And I think that's the biggest thing, is I really do feel a sense of pride for what I'm doing, for where I came from. And I wouldn't be in the situation and in the place I am today without my career at Arizona. And I'm so thankful for my time as a Wildcat.